The door jerked suddenly as the monster found more strength. It seemed to Dustin that the door never bothered to move either way more than an inch. He could feel whatever it was beyond that door trying to suck them in. He planted his feet and arched his back, giving the door a good hard tug. Alex did some quick breaths, like his brother does before a wrestling match, and lowered his stance.
Come on,
he repeated under his breath. It was Joe, the youngest and slightest, who couldn't hold on any longer. He tried, truly, but his wiry pale fingers slipped one time too many to be of any use. The little boy felt the handle slide just to the tip of his middle finger. As he let go, he bolted out, high and terrified. Suddenly, the door burst open, filling the room with darkness and the screams of 1,000 terrified children. The two boys holding on to the door landed on their butts as the resistance suddenly disappeared. They couldn't see into the closet, only hear the cries. The darkness that was spilling from the crack now circled the boys. Joe was trembling, scared that his weakness allowed something, into the room. After a few tense seconds, Alex stood. Dustin followed, helping Joe to get to his feet. The darkness continued to creep up the walls of the bedroom, enrobing the boys' legs in black. It made their first tentative steps difficult, but they plodded through. It took 3 small steps to get to the opening. Alex looked at his friends and flattened his lips.
We ready?
Dustin nodded. Joe did the same thing.
All right.
Together they walked into the pitch, into the wall of screaming, nameless, faceless children. Despite their fear, despite what they knew was just waiting for them in the darkness, none of the 3 jumped when the closet door suddenly slammed shut behind them. Welcome to Tome Travelers! Today we dive into a universe of preteen terror and things in your closet in Little Fears.
Fast Weirdly Podcast presents The Tome Travelers.
Hello, and welcome back to Tome Travelers. I'm one of your hosts, John, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Roxy.
Hey!
And Sam.
The plucky co-host.
Yeah, so enthusiastic.
Sam is the plucky one.
I'm the plucky one.
I'm the dour one.
And that's only because I'm on meds. So.
Oh, yeah, well, and
We're all pretty much medicated at this table.
Yeah, and,
prescribed, legal. Today.
Yes, today everything's legal, and of course there's also coffee at the table, so I'm particularly happy, and that's always nice. But guys, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really happy to be doing this property, but before we get into that, I just want to throw out one thing, and that is for all our listeners out there, if you have not heard on our social media sites yet, we are going to be broadcasting live or recording live at Comic Palooza in Houston, Texas this next month. And so please, if you're there, look us up on the schedule and come out and check us out and come by and say hi.
Yeah, it's Mother's Day weekend this year, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But my mom doesn't live in town, and we'll see your mom at some point, I'm sure.
I've actually got a friend who, him and his wife just had a baby, and this is their first year where his wife is going to be a mom and get to celebrate Mother's Day, and so it's like, we're not going to be there.
Oh.
And what days are those?
It's the first weekend
is it like
May.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday? What?
Yep.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, okay.
More than likely, we'll be on the floor
10th,
on
11th,
Saturday.
and 12th.
And at the same time, we will be in 2 panels.
What time on Saturday?
We don't know that
we don't
part
know
yet.
that part yet.
If it's after 4:30, I could make it.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I'd have to know.
I'm sure they're still kind of finalizing all that because they're still getting confirmations from people who are going to be a part of it.
You know, moving on from this, we're going to be talking specifically about Little Fears, the game of childhood terror, originally by Jason L. Blair. We're going to dive into this topic, and we hope that you get a good kick out of this one, because this one is a neat property in my mind. It was originally published in 2001 by Key 20 Publishing, and was later released on Fun-Sized Games in 2009. But before we go too far down that, let's go ahead and we're going to talk about the historic events from the year of publishing in 2009.
I actually know some of these.
Yeah.
I'm actually like looking at some of them, and I'm like, oh my god, did this actually? Wow.
10 years ago?
10 years ago.
I feel like I have Alzheimer's or something. Jeez.
Nah, time just passes. It's just how it is.
This is wild.
But so in 2009, we have The Miracle on the Hudson.
Wait, That's not his name. Is it?
Sullenberger? Yeah, that's what
It's
I
not
found.
Chelsea, is it? Is his first name Chelsea?
I
I only know him as
Sully.
Sully, and I mean a movie's already been made with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Is it Chelsea? Am I just
Yep,
dumb?
Chelsea Sullenberger.
How interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
And I did my research.
You do your research. You just misspell things sometimes.
It's true.
So I thought it was just a really bad Charlie autocorrect.
But no, so this is a case that made the news and headlines, and yes, got a movie. It is a story, for those of you who don't know, of the Airways Flight 1549.
U.S. Airways.
Yes, U.S. Airways.
Not just an Airways.
Not just an airway. When it landed on the Hudson River shortly after takeoff. From what I understand, I mean, there's legends that, like, did the plane, like, flip while he's doing this and all sorts of crazy stuff?
I don't know. I didn't see the movie, and I really am not up on what all happened, but I do know that he was, like, lauded as a hero, and then a suspect in, like, suddenly law enforcement was not happy with him and coming after him and investigating the circumstances around.
oh, I didn't hear that part.
Well, there's
At least that's what the movie...
legends, rumors, not a whole lot of proof. Afterwards, it turns out that he is a recovering alcoholic.
Oh,
and
I think I remember hearing
and there
about
was
that.
a question of whether or not he may have been drinking. But it's all about dodging blame. And could the mechanical failure of the plane have been a result of any of his?
Of something,
if he
an
had.
operator error.
I believe that more would have come of the story if that was the case. I think people just wanted to discredit him to try and save the company from bad, press.
That could be.
So, other things from 2009. Barack Obama became the first African-American president.
Yep.
So, awesome. RuPaul's Drag Race premiered in 2009. I know.
It's been around that long.
It's
I
been
didn't
around that
realize it
long.
had been around for 10 years.
10 years too long.
Yeah. and the thing is that
We would smack you. I know it's his buddies in the chorus or whatever.
Yeah, it's his buddies in the chorus that would come after me.
Yeah. But RuPaul's Drag Race actually premiered on one channel and it transferred off to another.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to say, there is actually an LGBT channel, and I can't remember the name of it. Not Bravo, but
Bravo.
I want to say it was that, or VH1.
Huh.
I want to say it was on VH1.
Logo is the
that's
LGBT
right.
channel.
Here's a fun one for all of us nerds and geeks. The novelist Terry Pratchett received knighthood that year.
Is he still alive?
Yes. Oh, no?
No, he died, didn't he?
Oh.
I want to say he died of...
I assume he had to have been alive to... You don't get knighthoods posthumously, do you?
No.
I want to say he was suffering some sort of neurodegenerative disease.
Okay.
I may be totally wrong, though.
Died in 2015.
So he died 6 years after receiving knighthood. Wow.
Yes.
But I want to say he had
He had been diagnosed in 2007 with early onset Alzheimer's.
There we go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Made considerable or substantial public donation to the Alzheimer's Research Trust. Filmed a television program chronicling his experience with the condition, and also became a patron for the Alzheimer's Research UK, and he passed.
Yeah.
So that's sad.
So, going on, though. Slumdog Millionaire wins big at the Critics' Choice and at the Oscars and the Golden Globes. So
I have never seen that film.
I've never seen it. I've seen the CinemaSins version of it, and it's hysterical. But
That one is it not?
Every film
Yeah.
is full of CinemaSins.
oh, I am so addicted to that channel.
It's good when you just want to be catty.
Well, it's also good when you see something, and like on Imager, I saw something, and I say, I see someone graduated from the Prometheus School of Running Away from Things, and then someone right after me went, ding. I'm like, yes.
Last thing for that year. Robert Plant and Alison Krauss win a Grammy for their album Raising Sand.
I mean, a lot of people won Grammys that year, but that was actually a pretty decent collaboration
That's a
record.
really good album.
Have you heard it all?
Yes, I did. Yes, I have. I actually own it.
Do you? So
Yes.
do I.
So-
I bought it when it came out, and I almost went to the tour because I liked
didn't.
Alison Krauss.
I didn't buy it when it came out. My family picked it up for me at Cracker Barrel. And
Yeah, Cracker Barrel had a thing they had like a deal with Alison Krauss and Union Station for a while, and though her band doesn't receive like a marquee banner on the album, I do believe her band is still playing with them. A lot of them, anyway. But no, it's pretty good.
No, it was a wonderful album.
I'm gonna catch fire for this, but better than anything Led Zeppelin ever did. in my
Oh,
opinion.
yeah,
But-
you'll catch a little fire for that.
No, I've only heard
I mean, I like some Led Zeppelin, but
Yeah.
some of the stuff that is super popular, I'm like, shut up.
Well, it's like
Stop screaming.
in Wayne's World, where they start in the guitar shop and
Yeah.
they start playing.
Stairway
Stop
to-
that! And it shows the sign. No, don't play Stairway to Heaven.
No Stairway to Heaven, yeah.
No Stairway to Heaven.
Because that was
denied.
that was the solo that everybody wanted to play. And I remember when I was going to guitar shops, I would hear November Rain from Guns N' Roses. Occasionally, over in the acoustic section, you'd have the guy that's playing like Satellite by Dave Matthews Band, because it's kind of got a very distinctive acoustic guitar part. And I'm just like,
What about Chet Atkins?
yeah, nobody's going to play the
nobody.
Third Man theme or anything like that. It's like, you want to play some real stuff.
That's always the case. You can always kind of pick out the people who want an audience versus those who are actually testing a guitar by what they're playing whenever you go to a guitar shop.
Or Enter Sandman by
Yeah.
Metallica, which is one of the easiest openings ever, but you will sit and hear it.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's and this closing up on that, I'll say this: I cannot stand videos or recordings of Led Zeppelin live compared to their album. So going on from this, 2009, we're looking at the game Little Fears, which some of our listeners are probably not aware of what Little Fears is.
Oh, I wasn't.
This is a small press game
I've
with
kind of played it
Yeah.
a couple times.
with a big background, and we'll get into that part. Man,
That's a horrifying. Kids are weird anyway,
yeah.
but when you show me kids with like buttons on their eyes, creeping me out, man.
Oh, that's like Coraline.
yeah.
That's kind of creepy
So
too.
Neil Gaiman is also friends with Terry Pratchett,
yeah.
because they wrote a book together that's now a TV show.
So in this game, players take on the role of children age 6 to 12. It is actually that specific in the book, the age range, who are being hunted by the minions of a place called Closet Land. Closet Land is ruled by...
You okay? It does sound
Where
like
all
some.
the fairies go.
It does sound like Closet Land is bad. Anyone who comes from the closet is bad.
Anno Domini.
But Closet Land is ruled by the demagogue and his 7 kings. And each king is a personification of one of the 7 deadly sins. The most well-known of the kings is the boogeyman, the king of greed. Other creatures in the Closet Land include things such as the monster under the bed, the closet monster, werewolves, vampires, and much, much more. And they are hunting children. But the children are not entirely powerless. They have belief. And it is a special kind of magic that turns the impossible into the real when they're interacting with this area of the world.
And see, and I know, it's just funny because I know all this and I've never thought about it, but I didn't know about Closet Land until this moment. But it does feel kind of weird, like there's a sub-message here because it's Closet Land where all the bad guys come from. You defeat it by belief. That's your special power is faith. And it's like,
Wow, you're taking this in a whole direction I was totally unprepared
oh, well,
for.
I wasn't prepared for it either, but now I'm like, it's propaganda. No, it's
Yeah.
I probably isn't.
No.
Jason Blair, please do not take my
If you want, I take
commentary is
$50 in check or money order, and
and
I'll
I
beat her
will
up.
delete this
I
episode.
will beat her up
No,
for you.
Jason Blair. We'll get down to what he's doing these days, but he could care less.
Oh,
Trust
okay.
me.
That's fine.
But belief is a cool thing because, like, imagine a picture of a deceased relative could call forth their protective spirits to fight for you. Or a teddy bear could literally spring to life and defend children.
If
You
they
know,
believe it can do that.
if they believe it. Belief has downsides, though. If you believe that stepping on a crack would really break your mother's back, guess what could happen? Or, if a mirror really can capture souls.
This is reminding me of kind of a mixture between Changeling and Mage.
Very much so. Oh, yes, very much so. But in 2009, the versions... so a version came out in 2009. The original one was just Little Fears. Then there's Little Fears Nightmare Edition, which is the one that I have there on the table for y'all.
Yes, okay, this is the Nightmare Edition.
Now, Nightmare Edition, due to the feelings that the game was a little bit too mature and heavy-handed with its horror themes, they tuned that down a little bit. They talk a lot less about Closet Land in this one. It's more monsters that, you still have belief and you're still fighting monsters, but Closet Land and the Boogeyman kind of downplayed a little bit.
See, I hate it when they do that because as kids, that's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And it's like, it's too heavy-handed. Kids, all of us have been through that.
Kids, well, and kids, I don't know. I mean, because generally these are going to be adults playing this game as children. So it's like the only people that I can see saying it's too heavy-handed are people that are like, oh, this is a game I can play with my 6-year-old. It's like, no.
Oh, like bringing your children to Deadpool.
Yeah.
It's like, what in the world is wrong
What did
with
you think?
And this brings up a very interesting reality in gaming is that there is the standard RPG gaming community, and then there are sub-communities. And one of those sub-communities is the true horror RPG followers. There are games out there that we don't talk about, that we, like, I will mention...
Like Fight Club.
Well, because the properties themselves, I don't want to really go down that hole.
Are you going to bleep out the names?
No. These are games that I will never have on the show, but these are games that are seriously mature, deal with topics that the mainstream role-playing crowd and community do not want in gaming.
Oh, so it's the RPG version of torture porn, basically.
Yeah, exactly. There is a sub-community that says that, and I'm trying to think...
That lives for it.
Yeah. They live for it, but they also believe that these are things that...
We need to talk about them here, so when... I hate that crap.
Yeah.
It's like, no, maybe we just don't give those ideas root in anybody's mind by playing a game...
Yeah.
For entertainment where we're having these awful things happen to people, you know?
Yes. But it's one of those things where at the same time, that's something you leave up to a table. It doesn't have to be in a game. If your table wants to explore those themes, your table can explore those themes. It doesn't mean that it needs to be in a book.
Yeah.
The first edition of Little Fears kind of touched on that. It was a little bit too dark for people. The later game kind of toned that down a little bit and moved away from it. It's still a very, very dark game.
It's kind of ironic to me that the toned down version is the Nightmare edition.
Yeah, true.
Sometimes real life is pretty horrifying.
Yeah, well, no, I totally agree.
Well, it sounds like it's also kind of like that Hollywood. It's an unaccepted or unspoken rule that kids are never filmed dying or being killed on movies. They're never. It's always off screen
and almost never dogs.
Yeah, almost never.
But they try
except
not to.
Old Yeller. Oh wait, no, they didn't even show that.
They didn't show it. Yeah, and
like I heard they made the sound. You heard the sound of the.
Yeah,
gun,
there was a movie recently where a dog is killed. And they didn't show it. John was like prepping me. He was like,
yeah,
because it's like we're like watching it, and he's a kid at Christmas because he's wanted to see this movie. But he was like a kid at Christmas, and then all of a sudden, like the scene starts, and they go into this bar, and like I see movement out of the corner of my eye, and I look over, and John's like looking at me like just giving me all. I know you guys can't see me signaling, but he was like giving me the maybe you shouldn't look symbol, like running his hand over his throat, like let's cut here. You shouldn't be looking at this. You're not gonna like this. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, what?
And you totally miss it while looking at him.
I realized what was going to happen because there was kind of a foreshadowy kind of thing, and I was like, it's okay. And they didn't show it, but it happens.
Yeah,
I was like, that just makes me hate that guy so much more.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's you want to make a villain hateable to me?
Kill a dog.
Kill an animal.
Yeah.
Okay, John Wick.
Pretty much.
See, I've never even seen that.
I haven't either. I want to.
I've never shown it to her because when we were first dating, she mentioned that she hates like she had seen something in it. A dog died in it, and she refused to ever see it again.
What was it?
And I was like, okay, so I'm never taking you to see John Wick.
Well, I mean, a new dog doesn't die in every sequel, does it?
I can't say for sure.
I don't think it does.
I think it's just like his forever.
Okay.
Go on, John. Sorry.
No problem.
Little Fears.
But so when this game hit big, their first edition, it was an explosion on the game scene. Right out of the box, in 2002, Origin Awards named it the role-playing game of the year. in 2002. And that is still in the heyday of, Dungeons & Dragons 3 and 3.5 striking big. And this thing coming out of nowhere gets the Origin Award.
Wait a minute. If it was released in 2009...
2002 is the first edition. 2009 is the one we got on the table.
Okay. I was a little confused there. Okay, cool.
I was like, why are we doing stuff for 2009?
Because that's the Nightmare Edition, which is the one I got over there for
Yes,
y'all,
that is the one. I
And
get it.
we thank you.
Yes. The book was nominated for and won the RPG Net Award for the most disturbing controversial game of 2001.
Wimps.
Yep. This is where we're getting some weird ones, if you're ready.
I like the cover of this one. The main book with the wolf and the clown and the girl who looks like she's singing a hymn.
It's creepy. But so in 2002, Little Fears was licensed by a prominent German game publisher, Feder and Schwert.
Nope. Feder and Schwert.
Feder and Schwert.
And Schwert.
Schwert.
Yeah, you say.
Auf
Okay.
Feder. Oh.
For release in the German language market, the German version titled,
Kleine Angster.
thank you, inspired the industrial duo Janus to release a soundtrack. Packaged with a limited edition Janus studio release of
Auferstehung.
the
Kleine Angster.
CD
Kleine
featured
Angst.
several eerily haunting songs.
Angst. Are they angsty Kleins? What does that mean? What is Kleine Angst?
Literally Little Fears.
Oh, does it? Okay.
That's literally Little Fears.
Oh, there we go.
The frontman, Rig, also released a German language storybook inspired by Little Fears, which was limited to
Of course.
666 copies.
People, that's like, they always associate.
We're going to be scary. What are you talking about?
Oh, in Bay City, they changed the tax rates when Texas allowed individual counties to do it. And it just so happened that if you ordered a very particular combination at the movie theater, it would come out $6.66.
Oh, and I bet people just had to clutch their Bibles.
Oh my goodness. They were like, just put something else on there, put something else. I mean, it was a heyday for the people working the counter because people would just buy something just to not have to pay that. It was so stupid.
The movies are so evil.
I know it is because my popcorn and my drink came up as Devil's Number.
The Devil's Number.
Yep.
The what now?
The Devil's Number. That's what they call
Oh,
it.
jeez.
Even
I'm sure The Omen got that started too.
oh,
Made
I'm
it
sure.
hugely
I'm
popular.
sure. I mean,
Okay. Anyway.
Well, so here's one I don't think you'll be able to pronounce, though. But so Little Fears was also licensed by a French publisher, and I can't even
is it
say
supposed to have a 7 in there?
Yeah.
Okay, then
It's
that's some-
Circle.
Seven?
Circle or whatever.
Circle.
But they released a French
We're just
language
going to call
edition.
it 7 Circle.
Yeah. They released a French language edition of Little Fears, which retained the English title in 2003. So even in French, it was called Little Fears. So we actually do have the copies of the
So I
book
would
here
call
today.
it like Petite.
The three
His
little
notebooks.
books, actually.
Yeah.
Those little small books, those are them.
Yeah. Didn't they, like, for a long time, they made little books. Like, I remember Bessem was really small.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then there was a
Well, the-
Robotech book that was really small.
Yeah, the pocket
Well,
editions.
small being relative.
Yeah, but
That's the funny thing is that these are considered like pocket edition sized.
And they're
I'm
not
like,
pocket.
who's wearing Jinko jeans from 1996 to put this in their pocket?
yeah.
And that little pocket right there in the front where you can put your...
Yeah, for a while there, I think it was honestly a matter of the cost of publishing that people
Probably.
switched over to smaller books like that, especially if they really weren't publishing a whole lot of material, which is the case in Little Fears. I mean, those are small books to begin with.
Well, also, think about when D&D and AD&D, I mean, you had all these books, and you had to cart them everywhere. So having a smaller book would be an advantage in that case.
Yeah. And I think they kept to a fairly universal size with this because this is also the same size as if the Laws in the Night and all the Laws books from White Wolf.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot they did that. Yeah.
But they are small, perfect bound books. I love the art on them.
It's good.
It does look nice.
The layout is pretty good for a small black and white.
Nature Boys.
And the artwork is not terrible. In fact, I would go as far as saying this is every bit as good as other perfect bound black and white books, if not more professionally laid out.
And in my opinion,
Yes, please.
the art that I'm seeing so far surpasses another black and white perfect bound book that we looked at called Aberrant.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is blowing that book out.
The
from
art
the old
is
White
far more aesthetically pleasing to me. Mm-hmm. It's more cartoon and less old style comic.
Yeah. And the scale, the grayscale in it, is much easier to comprehend.
Yeah, it's not high contrast. There's a lot of midtones.
Yes. And so these are really nice looking books.
Yeah, the pictures don't look goofy or...
Yeah.
No, the art's very well done.
And especially for something that is a horror topic, they didn't go with like that, like you said, high contrast, giant jumps from black to white.
Well, and also, you know, in doing some game module layout, they have a lot of, like, walls of text.
Mm-hmm.
Things that a lot of layout designers are, like, super against. Don't have more than, like, a full page of text.
Yeah.
Too much text is too much text. And I'm like, yeah, but this looks nice. I've got 4 pages. I got 2 full spreads of just text, but it flows nicely. It doesn't feel cluttered. It's easy to follow. It doesn't make me want to look at it and go, because we do have a couple. We have another Perfect Bound book over there that it's a smaller version of, I think, what was actually released because it's an omnibus.
Yeah.
And it's got so much information packed into it, and the font is a size that makes me feel like there's so much here that I just can't take in, and it's definitely just a visual thing for me personally, but this feels accessible.
Yes. And professional. That's one of my big
Yes,
things.
very much so.
Yeah,
Signed edition.
Little Fears has gotten a little bit more press in recent years, but for a while there, it was kind of in the back of everyone's mind. I reached out to the actual creator on his website and bought them directly from him, and he sent me signed editions of the book.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
By the way,
So-
I would like to mention at the beginning, it says Real Lives Are Not a Game and gives information on Amber Alert and the National Center for Missing and Exploited
Oh, that's
Children.
good.
Yeah.
He didn't have to, but he did. That's really kudos to him for that.
Yeah.
No. He was extremely nice. And recently, Little Fears, their website has gotten an uptick in traffic, and he has been publishing again.
Cool.
There are books that I don't have, and there are actually, now this is really cool, I like. He has modules for this game that he is putting out all the time. Usually they're little books called Campfire Stories. And each one is a collection of about 3 different scenarios. The one I ran for, where it was like the Harvest Day Festival for you and
Yeah.
a few of our friends, that was one of those adventures.
Okay.
The start, I made a campaign out of that, but I used that for my start, and it went really well.
It was super fun. I would play that game again.
So going on from there. So what happened to Little Fears? We got some good stuff to talk about here.
Yeah.
The English edition of Little Fears went out of publication in 2004 after selling through its initial print run. So it sold out. All the books sold out by 2004. The copyright of the work is held by Jason Blair. Key 20 Publishing no longer has any Little Fear related content on their website. So Key 20 is still around. They're doing their own thing. In 2006, an article announced in 2007 a release for a new edition of Little Fears called Little Fears Nightmare Edition, which is what we have. In 2008, Jason Blair issued a statement and said that he regretted not being able to get it published in the time frame, and that he decided to step away from a bit to reevaluate the game and wanted, what he wanted from it and what it needed to be. And in 2009, the game was released by Fun Size Games, which is Jason's own little company.
Okay.
It is pretty much just him. And so that's the website where I reached out to him and got a hold of him. Before I go further down in that list on that page, I want to go ahead and talk about who Jason Blair is. Because, like, you said, I was like, no, he doesn't care what we say about his product. So Jason Blair, to give you all a little bit of background on him, he went into writing video games and is now the creative director for Funcom. He is responsible for the games Mutant Year Zero, Conan Exiles, Age of Conan, Anarchy Online, Dreamfall, and so much more. He is known for his work in 2006 on the video game Prey, and he is also known for the Saints Row video game series.
Saints
wow.
Row games are so bizarre.
Yes, they are.
It's like almost serious, but then you start playing and realize this is a huge parody.
Yeah, and so
It's strange.
this is my point of it is RPG pen and paper games are just a hobby. Publishing them is just a hobby for him at this point because
Wow.
he is literally in charge of one of the big MMO companies out there.
Okay.
Now here is the
OG
big
Mario Brothers.
thing. Now I wrote this up before I got this done, and I want to go ahead and toss this out because we are essentially, on this podcast and on PassionNerdly.com, we are the first to get an interview. We have artwork that will be on our website at PassionNerdly.com. So in 2018, a project has begun called Little Fears Cthulhu Tales. And it is a comic featuring Lovecraftian tales based on this RPG by Alessio Rossino and Nicholas David Ramirez in Argentina. I stumbled upon the artwork, like they put something up just on one of their Instagram pages. And I had posted something originally for Little Fears, and it came up in my feed just randomly, and I'm like, what in the world is this? And there is a comic that is being produced by a comic writer from a industry in Argentina. That not a lot of people here in the United States realize this.
Right.
So
I realize that this comic is coming out, but
Yeah.
he's a known artist
Yes.
in Argentina.
So Alessio was a comic artist and at one time an artist for Atmosfera, which is an independent comic company in Argentina. And now they're with, and I'm trying to say this right, Hirokuo Publishing House,
works.
who in addition to comics releases graphic novels based off of RPGs like Tunnels and Trolls and now Little Fears. This is a really cool thing. I am going to have an interview featuring the artist and the writer. They will both be on PassionNerdly.com. I have a full interview with them written up, and also asked them for the interview, and they said, here's some artwork that nobody else has. And so I am very honored that we are getting an opportunity to do this. So thank you guys so much. We're at that point in our show that we always get to, and this is where I like to ask my co-hosts, would you ever want to run this game or just play it? I mean,
I'll let Sam... Oh, you want me to go first?
Yes. Ladies first.
Ladies first. I have played it, and I enjoyed what we did. I would definitely play this one again. But I kind of like spooky stuff with kids. You know, I kind of like... And I like the idea that... Because my character had... Because her brother had moved away, or was like in the military or something, or in college. But he'd left her his letter jacket. And she had like Doc Marten shoes that she believed, you know, were kind of her crap kickers. You know, they were... She believed that they were like nothing could get to her if she was wearing those shoes. And her brother's letter jacket, he was like, anytime somebody picks on you, just remember, you know, this jacket will protect you. And so she believed that the jacket was like so the jacket became like a +1 protective item, and her boots had like, her Doc Martens had like a +1 attack or something. And so that was fun that you could just
believe in something and make it happen.
And no matter what was happening around you, you still had those items, even if they looked a little different to fit the setting we were in. Because we kind of did a Little Fears melding with other games. But
yeah, essentially the game that I ran them through, just really quickly tossing it out there, we wanted to do a cross-dimensional game where we started in Little Fears, and this evil being thrust them into other dimensions. And so the other dimensions were other RPG properties. And as I took them through the different RPG properties, they ended up in, what was the first one I took y'all to? It was like Reloaded.
Aces and Eights.
Yeah, Aces and Eights. And so their items stayed with them, but would change.
But we were in the 1800s, like we were like just post-Civil or pre-Civil War.
Yeah. But our items changed to the appearance of wherever they were. So it would be like the comparable thing from that time period.
Like I had a jacket, and it may have had a name sewed on the back, like my brother's name or something, but it was more like a leather duster type jacket.
That was something that was completely me, and I thought it was a cool idea because we were always like, there's so many games we want to play. Here's a way that we can do it. So, Sam, how about you?
Well, being the non-child that I was growing up, it would be difficult for someone like myself to play because thinking like kids is kind of, you know, I have a difficult time thinking that way. However, being a huge fan of Mage, I love that game. And to a certain extent, Changeling, I would actually really like that particular part of it, is the belief system working that into. So I could do it. It would just be very awkward for me.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, that actually plays a little bit into the mechanics of the game because it's easier. You have more belief but are more susceptible to bad things when you're younger. But the reason 12 is kind of the cutoff limit is because after 12 years old, you don't really have make-believe anymore. you don't really have belief. And at that point, the monsters really don't care about you anymore. It's like you're not the food that we seek.
Yeah.
Because you don't get scared as much. It's kind of
Yeah.
like it.
Mm-hmm.
It fed on fear.
Yeah.
That's what it needed. It needed to scare people because that is what sustained it, not their bodies or their physical forms. It was, I need to feed off this negative energy that you're putting out by being horrified.
Fear
you know?
and Tim Curry.
Yeah. The new guy is super scary.
Oh, he is. He
And
is really creepy.
But Bill Skarsgård,
Yeah.
his Pennywise is nightmare-inducing.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, ugh.
Wrapping that whole point up with the whole age thing, playing somebody who's more closer to a teenager going into that place where you no longer believe, you're growing up kind of thing would be a role that I think you could play. I myself, I love the whole kids on bikes genre. I mean, there's a game out now called Kids on Bikes.
Yeah, but before that, I mean, we would know what you meant.
Yeah.
Like the Goonies,
Yeah, Goonies,
Stranger
It,
Things, weird
It,
stuff.
yeah.
all that, all those wonderful little movies and pieces of fiction. I think that it's a great genre to mess with and have fun with, and that there's a whole different world that it kind of is alongside of our own that we've all experienced. It's very visceral, and it's very easy for us to fall into that world, I think. And that's what I really enjoy about this property.
I would call that childhood nostalgia genre.
Yeah.
By the pricking or something wicked this way comes.
Yeah.
Also has
Ray Bradbury.
some, and there's several other stories like that too.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
even like I was thinking about, I know it was Stephen King, but Stand By Me doesn't deal with anything supernatural, but it feels like it is with those kids because they've seen this
It's a
horrific.
coming of age.
It's a
story.
coming of
Yeah.
age, and they're faced with this dead body, and it's like everything changes for them that one time, with that one thing, and it's just it's a very developmentally heavy stage of life where the things that happen to you then are the most impactful, or some of the stuff that keeps with you for the rest of your life.
So yeah, I would definitely run this game. Now, I want to toss out that there is the core game, and then there are expansion books for it. Each one hits on different topics. There is.
Do you have all of them, or
I
is
have the
these only
first three there. There are
Okay.
new ones that have come out, but there's a book. There's the core book that has the main ideas. There is another book that introduces stuff closer to Stranger Things, so that if you got characters that have superpowers or some sort of power, there is a way to pull that into the game. There is another book which is very heavy, and that talks about runaways, homeless kids, and
'Cause
those
we have
forgotten
Among
by
the Missing.
Yeah, Among the Missing. Yeah, I have that one. It's a very heavy topic.
That's the first one that has the
Yeah.
numbers and web addresses for the Center for Exploited Children and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Because you're talking about
Table of contents.
the whole idea of children who are left behind in society. And so that one's pretty heavy, but altogether, this is an absolutely amazing genre, an amazing property. I highly recommend it. One of our interviewees who we continue to communicate with, Danielle Delisle from Ninja Crusade, she is an absolute huge fan of Little Fears. And so, hey, shout out to you if you're listening to the episode. So
Yeah. Come
All
play
right.
with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, I think that's a great place for us to end on
And
this
so,
episode.
yeah. You're so funny.
Well, I try.
Don't
You're-
insult the host.
So, next episode, we will be moving on to Spycraft.
One of my favorites.
And so, please be sure to come back for that
Tune
one.
in, because Sam's going to get catty.
Sam's going to get catty, and we are
Spy
also
catty.
going to have an interview in that one. We have Patrick Capera, who is the creator of Spycraft, who will be his
So
interview
there will be
featured.
there will be a bonus episode with his interview, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we look forward to seeing y'all then. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Fast Weirdly Podcast presents The Tome Travelers.